Imagine for a moment that an intense storm is pounding your house. Will your roof leak? Will the siding peel away? Will your basement flood? If your house is properly built and maintained, you'll be fine. But what about your 401k or your investments? The stock market has had a pretty good run the last few years, but is its current turmoil making you feel uneasy? Are you confident your portfolio is built to weather a financial storm? Now may be a great time to get a second opinion on your retirement plan. Call Barry Watts and the team at WealthCare at 417-200-3500 now. They'll examine your portfolio and show you if your investments are in need of some weatherproofing. Call Barry Watts and the team at WealthCare today at 417-200-3500 to get your no-obligation second opinion. Don't let your retirement get caught in the rain. Call 417-200-3500. Investment advisory services are provided by WealthCare Asset Management, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Investing involves risk.
It's time for Watts on Wealth Radio with Barry Watts and your host, Ralph Hipp.
You can test drive a car and test drive an RV, but what about your retirement? Barry Watts rolls out more of his financial wisdom as he and I bring you another Sunday morning edition of Watts on Wealth. I'm your radio and your TV host for Barry, Ralph Hipp, and hope you saw us this morning on KY3. Now on to the radio side, we get to slow things down a little bit. We get to spend a whole hour together helping you size up your perfect retirement. What does it look like? How do you get there? Barry is here to share some advice to think about before you make the leap into retirement. So let's jump right into the show. And hello, Barry.
Well, hello, Ralph, and my advice is this: look before you leap.
Yes.
Because that's what retirement planning is all about. In fact, we help people take the look before they leap. When you think about it, it's hard to know what something's going to be like when you've never experienced it before, and your retirement has never existed before. Your withdrawal, your spending of the money, your Social Security. So we have to do what is called modeling. It's the way we look before we leap. You know, Ralph, our office building over at Battlefield in 65, we're in the process of remodeling that building. We were just meeting with a builder yesterday and one of his design people, and the young lady who's the designer asked, would you like for us to do a computer rendering of what the remodel work will look like? And of course, my question was, well, how much did that cost? And her boss looked at me and said, probably like $500 or $600. I'm like, absolutely. We sure want to see what it's going to look like. Let us see the pictures in advance rather than just saying, well, here's the material we're going to use and making us figure it out on our own. And it's the same way with retirement. Instead of just showing you, well, here's some different things and we might use some of them, we actually can sit down and build a retirement model for you before you ever pull the trigger so you can see month by month what it's going to look like. But, you know, here's the good thing, Ralph. We don't charge $500. In fact, there's no charge to do that.
Well, how do you do this without charging people, Barry?
Well, obviously, Ralph, we do have a business to run and we do make money in our business. But the reason that we don't charge for that piece of the process is because we don't know for sure that we can help you. I mean, I know that we can help people in general, but I don't know about you because I don't know your situation. And so I don't want to say, well, just for the privilege of being in my presence, you're going to have to pay. No. You don't have to pay to come sit down with us. We're going to sit down together. We're going to get acquainted. We're going to talk about what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish. And we're going to figure that out together and figure out whether we're a fit. Are you the right person for us to work with? Are we the right firm for you to work with? And once we figure that out and then eventually figure out what things we're going to do for you, well, then we can talk about what that's going to cost. But in our particular practice, we never have people experience a charge of any type that they don't know about and have the chance to approve in advance. And when it comes to our design work, in over 90% of our cases, we don't charge for that work because what happens is eventually people say, well, hey, Barry, I like the design work you've done. Would you help us implement? And then after we've made the adjustments and implementations, that's where we may actually charge a fee. But we always tell them about that fee before that happens.
Very good. Barry, let me take you back to the show last week. You mentioned you have your conference rooms at the building named for Madison and Shelby, your daughters. Are you adding on another meeting room? Are you trying to tell me something here with you and Kelly?
Well, that's
Are you having another daughter?
That's a very good question. I'll go tell Kelly that you asked if she was pregnant. So my daughters are Madison and Sydney, and Sydney, in fact, was just here a moment ago. She is Sid works for Campus Crusade for Christ. She lives in Indianapolis, Indiana. She puts on their big conferences where they'll have a couple of thousand students come in for a weekend and do training and teaching and so forth. And Sid is responsible for really everything related to that conference. So we have the Madison conference room and the Sydney conference room. And I don't know what my staff's going to do to name the other conference rooms, but we don't plan on naming them after another child, no, because there's not going to be another child, Ralph.
Well, I did come up with that other wild. I did come up with that Shelby. So I don't know if that. Or
well, there you go. The Shelby conference room. I'll suggest that to the team, and we'll let them figure it out.
Maybe that's where that came from. Or you could name it for Zach.
That's true. We could have the Zach conference room. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, Barry, let's get back to our chat about test driving our retirement with a lot of things that we can buy out there if our money situation is pretty good. We have the chance to test it out. We can try on some new outfits or walk through a house. A lot of people are doing that, walking through. Do we need to downsize? Do we need to find another house in the Ozarks? You can test drive your car. How do we do that and test drive our retirement?
Well, it's kind of funny you ask because it makes me think of my kids. Zach and Madison got married about 53 weeks ago. Their anniversary was just last week. And then a few months after that, they bought a new house, a new to them house, and got moved into that new house. We've talked about it on the show before. And what I told them when they moved into the new house, I said, look, I've just got to have two things. I've got to have a good bed to sleep in, and I've got to have a good recliner to sit in. I can't come see you for the weekend and sit in a dining chair, got to have a place to sit down. And I said, I'll buy those two things. You can pick them out, make sure they are what you want, but I'll pay for them when the time comes. And so we did that. Went to Lazy Boy, laid in the chair, said, will this chair work? Yep, works perfect. Also went to the local furniture store, or the place where they sell mattresses, and went and I laid on a number of mattresses to figure out which one felt like the right one. And by the way, it is the right one. I was up at their place last weekend, spent the weekend with them, and was able to lay on the bed that I bought and slept great. And so the point is, the reason it slept great is I'd been able to try it out earlier. And, we like to do that with a new pair of shoes. Sometimes you put a pair of shoes on and you say, I don't need to get up and walk in these shoes. I can tell you right now, they are not the shoes for my feet. So, but you don't know that until you try them on. In fact, we will talk often in our conference room about how this is like trying on a pair of shoes. We're going to put a pair of shoes on you and we're going to say, walk around. What do you think? And if you say, these shoes don't feel right on my feet, well, then sit down, take them off. We're going to put on a different pair of shoes until we figure out the right things to do for that particular person. Just last weekend, I was down on Independence. Thompson's GMC is down there. Mm-hmm. And I took a test drive in a new car, and the test drive told me that it was not the car for me. Well, I really appreciate being able to test drive it because that tells me it's not the direction I want to go. So when it comes to planning for retirement, it's the exact same thing. We model your income budget for every year in retirement. You tell us how much you want to spend. We'll adjust it for inflation. You don't have to worry about that. We'll add in things like vacations and a new car every several years because you're probably going to need them. We'll take your Social Security and pension and we put it into the equation. And then it'll tell us how much you're going to need to withdraw from your retirement savings accounts. And when we get done with that big math problem, we will know whether or not you're going to make it and whether or not you're going to have enough money to last for your retirement life. And we say that's age 100. And many people do, and many people don't. And if you're one of the ones who are not going to have enough money to last till 100, well, when would you want to know that? Wouldn't it be better to know it yesterday? Oh, but yesterday's past. Then let's find out today instead of waiting until you're 85 and learning you're going to run out of money at age 86. That's kind of what the test drive of retirement modeling looks like.
And if you're listening to the show, we're sure glad you are. And you go, I like Barry Watts, and he's at the Wealth Care Corporation. Let me give that phone number to you. It's 417-200-3500 to call Barry. I want to talk to Barry Watts, 417-200-3500. Well, let's go through the checklist of some of the high points of test drive, and we can go through these one or two at a time, Barry. Some of the things, if you're going to try it out in the Ozarks, friends, start your retirement shopping early, and also then try living on what's likely to be your fixed retirement income amount. What's the amount? Try to live just on that, right, Barry?
Well, I think that's good advice. And I particularly like the idea of starting early, because a lot of people don't come to us until they're ready to retire. And they'll sit down and they'll say, when do you want to retire? And they say Friday. Well, wait a minute. It would have been a lot better if we could have planned this. I always say when you're flying an airplane, you can feel when the plane is repositioning itself to kind of get pointed toward the airport. Because they point the nose of the plane slightly downward. And if you're flying into Springfield, for example, from out west, somewhere out around Wichita, they start adjusting the attitude of the plane to nose it down into Springfield. I had a call yesterday from someone on our TV program, responding to the TV program, and they were 51 years old. And they wanted to talk about it. Oh, that's great. Absolutely fabulous, because they've got a lot of time to make adjustments that they need to make, and be sure that when they do get to retirement age, 67 probably for them, then they'll be in good shape. This afternoon, it's not this afternoon. This is Sunday. That doesn't work. I guess it's probably tomorrow afternoon, Monday afternoon.
Yeah.
I've got somebody coming in who's 53 years old. So if you failed to do it early, well, don't let that worry you. We just need to take care of it, whatever age you are. A lot of people we see are 60 to 65-ish, occasionally up to 70. The oldest person that ever showed up in our office was 96. And we were able to help them, by the way. They're a client of ours.
Wow.
But the sooner you start doing that work, the better we can do it and get you zeroed in so that you land at the appropriate retirement destination. And the worst thing in the world is to land at the wrong airport.
Oh, in the wrong place. Yeah. No, this is not where I want to live, but hopefully you'll retire right here in the Ozarks. A couple of other things. Connect with groups of people who are involved in the hobbies and the pastimes that you like to pursue. And as we mentioned, travel to some different places. Get a sense of what retirement living might be like there. Live as you might every day, not like you're on a luxury vacation, but kind of test driving the town, hopefully in the Ozarks you want to live in, and how do you like to travel? So, Barry, connecting with groups and traveling to different places are a couple of other things.
Obviously, that's important. The thing is, if you travel like we do, we like luxury travel. So we like to go first class, stay at the nicest hotel. We enjoy that. My wife's idea of roughing it on a camping trip for the weekend is the Four Seasons. So that's just how we prefer. Now, other people love staying at the Super 8 or even pulling the camper trailer behind their own pickup truck. That's fine too. But the point is, however you like to travel, you need to adjust to that and test your retirement destination as if you were living there. Go to the grocery store, buy groceries, take them home and cook them, eat out on the deck, talk about it. Visit churches. If you're a church-going person, I think that's a good idea. See what it smells like there in that community. Just kind of wander around and talk to people. At one time, many, many years ago, in fact, about 35 years ago, I was in the process of moving to Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. Yeah. I'd never been to Hilton Head, but I had a job offer in Hilton Head, said, please come to Hilton Head. So I went down there and looked around, and I drove around for a couple of days and talked to people. I'd just see somebody standing in their yard, and I'd just pull over and stop to them, say, hey, I'm going to move to Hilton Head. Is this a good idea or not? And based on that polling data, I decided not to move to Hilton Head. So that's a helpful thing to do.
We have more of our list helping you test drive your retirement. Barry, we're going to take a little bit of a break here. Some more messages from Barry. You're listening to Watts on Wealth, the radio show, after Barry and I were on KY3 this morning. Hope you saw us on the TV tube. It's not really a tube anymore. It's kind of a fiber optic, like a Ethernet connection or something like that. Hope you saw us.
Yeah, I don't know. You dug that one yourself. You're going to have to dig yourself out of it. I don't know what it is.
Whatever way you saw us, yeah. But just listen to us a little more. We'll take a break and be right back right after this.
Having trouble planning your retirement? Planning doesn't have to be complicated. Barry Watts can help you simplify it with his Retirement Toolkit. In it, you'll find a copy of his Retirement Income Planning Booklet, plus information on taxes, Social Security, income, and more. To get your toolkit, text KIT, that's K-I-T, to 417-200-3500. That's KIT, K-I-T, to 417-200-3500.
According to the U.S. debt clock, in the time you hear this commercial, our nation's debt will go up by $1.5 million. That's more than $2 billion a day. Right now, our debt is over $31 trillion and climbing fast. The question is, how do we pay it off? One of the most likely answers is increasing taxes. Now think about your retirement accounts. Do you want to pay taxes on some of that money now when rates are historically low, or later when rates are potentially higher? Whether you should pay taxes now or in retirement depends on a lot of things. Barry Watts and the team at WealthCare know what to look for. Barry can help you create a plan so your retirement is as tax efficient as possible. Call 417-200-3500 to set up a tax strategy session with Barry Watts and the WealthCare team. That's 417-200-3500. When taxes go up, will you be ready? Call now, 417-200-3500.
Investment advisory services are provided by WealthCare Asset Management, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Are you worried about where your money will go in retirement? No need to worry. Barry Watts is here to help you plan for your retirement future. Just text VISIT to 417-200-3500 to set up a meeting with Barry Watts to see what he can do for you. Again, that's text VISIT to 417-200-3500 today.
Hey, welcome back in. Barry Watts and I on Watts on Wealth. We're talking about test driving your retirement and what will it look like? Where do you want to go? So some other things there is to, as we mentioned, rent a home where you think you might wish to live, arrange an extended stay at a 50-plus community, and do you love it? And plan to work some kind of a gig job. This is my gig, or volunteer your time and try out a little gig job on weekends. So same thing, Barry, renting a home or maybe trying one of those senior communities. And what are you going to do to make a little extra money, a little gig job, or volunteer your time?
Well, I think those are all great ideas. I remember my mother and dad, when they bought their first motorhome, they actually went and spent a month in Florida, I think, and then spent a month in Texas, and maybe spent a month somewhere down on the Gulf Coast in Alabama or somewhere like that, because they were trying to decide where they wanted to snowbird to. And ultimately, they decided Texas was it. And every year after that, they went to Texas. And so, how did they know to do that? Well, because they had looked at all the other places, tried all the other places, and decided that was the best fit for them.
And along with that, connect with retired people, some other retirees who are living the lifestyle that you envision, and you can get some insights and advice from them on their own experiences. Well, Barry, from that, is there anything you'd want to add to the list of areas to test drive before we fully dive into retirement?
Well, the only other thing that I think it's really important is that you test drive your taxes. You must test drive taxes. And one of the things we can do is actually model what your taxes are going to look like in retirement. And that is a very interesting process, if not just a little bit scary. But there again, you don't want the boogeyman isn't scary if you know he's behind the bush. So when he jumps out and says, boo, you're like, I knew you were there. You didn't scare me. What scares you is when you're just walking down the street, you see the bush, you didn't know there's a boogeyman in it. And when you get by the bush, he jumps out and says, boo. And then you're freaked out. So we don't want the tax boogeyman to freak you out. And the way to do that is to test drive the taxes, model your tax bill in retirement. It's one of the things that we do for people at the WealthCare Corporation.
And Barry's phone number, once again, is 417-200-3500, 417 all around the Ozarks, 200-3500. We mention on the show, and I'll throw it in again, we mention it every week. We've got it like a year and a half now to the big tax changes, January 1 of 2026. Here we are getting into the second half of this year. And for people around the Ozarks, Barry, who are planning to retire at the end of this year, they're going to call it quits in 2024. What do they want to know from you about turning on their retirement income once they leave that job behind, probably in the next 6 months?
Well, one of the biggest first questions everybody asks is going to be about Social Security. When should I take Social Security? Now, some people have already made up their mind. They don't want to be consulted on that. They know what they're going to do. But other people are like, well, I know I've got options, and they even know what their options are, and they don't know how to choose among those options. So one of the things that I always like to ask is, when you quit and are retired, are you going to stay retired, or are you going to go back to work like Ralph Hipp did? Because, you quit being a TV guy, but now here you are a radio guy a whole lot of the time. So here's what you have to realize. If you totally quit and then you go back to work and you do that under full retirement age, under age 67, then here's what's going to happen. Every time you make $1, you're going to give back 50 cents of that dollar of Social Security. So for every $1 you make, you're going to give back 50 cents of the Social Security if you earn over $22,320. So you just need to know that, because if you're going to quit but still go to work and you're going to be making more than $22,000, then you probably don't want to take your Social Security prior to full retirement age. Now, at full retirement age, the numbers quickly escalate. It's about, I think, $57,000 you can make that year before you have to give any back. And every year after that, you can make as much as you want, and you won't have to give any back. So that's just an important thing to know about turning on the Social Security portion of your income.
Now, we're going to get back to Social Security in a minute here, Barry, but it's that time of the show. You're excited. I'm thrilled. Your book has just come out. The book is called, just like the radio show, Watts on Wealth, came out this week. Barry, I understand it's 140 pages. We talk about getting a good summertime paperback to read, and you can find it on Amazon. And can you tell us how to get a free copy? We can text something, back to that technology, texting something to get your book. Tell us about it.
So, Ralph, we're really excited about the book. It's just been released this week, as you said, 140 pages, and it is on Amazon. You can either buy it in hardback or in paperback. But it really doesn't matter because I'm going to tell you how to get a free copy. All you've got to do is text to the word book. That's BOOK. Text that to 417-200-3500, 417-200-3500, and we'll actually mail you a free copy of the book, Watts on Wealth. It's a really helpful resource. We've been working on it a long time, and we want to get it in your hands so that you can kind of magnify the things that we talk about here on the show and understand at a more deep level how these things may impact you. And so reading the book would be one way to do that. The book's called Watts on Wealth, 140 pages, not too long, just long enough. And you can have a free copy if you will just text us today, the word book, BOOK, to 417-200-3500.
And I'm the kind of a guy, all the work you put into it, I love for people to be paid for the work they do. And I wouldn't mind buying the book. So you get a little something in there from, all the work you did. But yeah, it is a free copy, and it's a complimentary conference with Barry. You can text or call that same number, 417-200-3500, right there at Highway 65 and Battlefield Road. Head over to the office of the Wealth Care Corporation. Meet with Barry Watts. Well, for most of us who are retiring, maybe later this year, Social Security, you already know, you're going to find out. It's a critical source of income for you. Barry, back to the big SS here. What are some of the big factors we have to keep in mind before we start claiming our benefits? We've walked away from the paycheck and walking right into the Social Security office.
Well, you want to remember that Social Security increases for every year that you wait to take it. The earliest you can take it is at age 62. But if you take your Social Security at age 62, you're going to get paid about 30% less each month than if you waited until full retirement age. Now, what's full retirement age? Well, full retirement age is 67 for people who are born in the 1960s. So for every year that you wait after full retirement age, you get paid an additional 8%. So if you wait until 68, you get 8%. If you wait until 69, you get 16%. If you wait until 70, you get 24% more money than if you had taken it at age 67. So I'm not telling you should wait. I'm just saying you need to understand that if you take it early, you get paid less. If you take it later, you get paid more.
And of course, Barry, the 8% would be nice. How do you help people decide if waiting might be right for them? If they need to act faster, or it's good, to delay things a little bit and let it cook.
Well, here's an example of one of the things that we might consider. Ralph, it's not just about you, it's about Sheila. Because when we're sitting down with a couple, we're talking to the couple about their retirement life and getting both of them to age 100. And in some cases, because of the way they worked and the income that they earned and the Social Security they receive and whether they have pensions and so forth, sometimes what happens is as long as they're both living, everything's going to be fine. But if you lose the person who was the major wage earner and is the major income earner in retirement, then the spouse can be on difficult times. So we want to look at what's that going to look like when one spouse disappears. Now, of course, the Social Security actually is going to, the way that works when a spouse dies is whatever the surviving spouse's Social Security is or the spouse who died, whichever of those numbers is the highest, Well, the surviving spouse is going to get that number going forward. But the point is we need to consider those things, because if it is that there's not going to be much money left later on in life, we might want to wait until age 70 so the Social Security check's the largest that it can possibly be. And that way it gives more money for the surviving spouse when the other spouse has died. That's just an example of one of the things that we have to consider. Many, many things, but that's one of them that we look at.
And another reason to wait and let that account build up a little higher there. Well, new estimates are saying, Barry, we may be running out of money in the trust fund now in maybe 9 years on Social Security. Also, the new estimates say Social Security benefits could expect a modest cost of living adjustment again in 2025. Now, we got about 3.5% COLA in our Social Security, but the inflation rate's about 3.5, 3.6%, and the Medicare take, the medical take, is a little higher. But COLAs, and discuss that for a minute or two.
Well, so there's the point, Ralph. You feel good that you got, I think you said 3.2, but inflation's been a little higher than that. Let's call it 3.6. So your buying power actually has decreased with what you can do with your Social Security check for this year. Now, in 2023, everybody was excited. They got a COLA, cost of living adjustment, of 8.7%. Well, yeah, but inflation was 9%. So that didn't help so much. So one of the randy things about this is the government says senior citizens have a different cost of living than the rest of the population. I think that's government BS. I mean, what? A gallon of milk's cheaper because you're 70? A gallon of gas is cheaper because you're 70? I don't think so. Now, it is true a cup of coffee at McDonald's is cheaper because you get the senior discount. I even get those now, Ralph. But, most folks aren't giving you a senior discount. And so you just have to realize that the cost of living adjustments are fine, but sometimes they're less than what the actual cost of living is. A little good news, not a big deal, but the Senior Citizens League has projected in this year, or next year, in 2025, that your COLA is only going to be about 2%, maybe a little bit less than that. And so probably not going to get much adjustment over the next year.
And time for a break here. Time for the news. You're listening to the amazing Barry Watts, J. Barry Watts of the Wealth Care Corporation, I might add, on Watts on Wealth. I'm your radio host, Ralph Hipp. We'll take a little break here and be back with more, discussing Social Security. And still, we've been talking about test driving your retirement. And we'll talk more about Barry's book, which has just come out this summer. So stay with us. More of Watts on Wealth on the other side of this break.
Taxes. Can't live with them, can't live without them. But if you're looking for someone to help you pay as little taxes in retirement as possible, just give Barry Watts a call at the Wealth Care Corporation at 417-200-3500. That's 417-200-3500 to see what Barry Watts can do for you. Imagine for a moment that an intense storm is pounding your house. Will your roof leak? Will the siding peel away? Will your basement flood? If your house is properly built and maintained, you'll be fine. But what about your 401k or your investments? The stock market has had a pretty good run the last few years, but is its current turmoil making you feel uneasy? Are you confident your portfolio is built to weather a financial storm? Now may be a great time to get a second opinion on your retirement plan. Call Barry Watts and the team at Wealth Care at 417-200-3500 now. They'll examine your portfolio and show you if your investments are in need of some weatherproofing. Call Barry Watts and the team at Wealth Care today at 417-200-3500 to get your no-obligation second opinion. Don't let your retirement get caught in the rain. Call 417-200-3500. Investment advisory services are provided by Wealth Care Asset Management, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Investing involves risk.
We're glad you stuck around, and here's the next half hour coming your way of Watts on Wealth, the radio show. Along with Barry Watts, this is Ralph Hipp, and glad you're alongside with us for the remainder of the show. We're talking about Social Security. By the way, any Social Security questions you have regarding planning, Barry's number is 417-200-3500. 417-200-3500. Barry, what's the best way to get on the website and maybe leave you a message online or email, and if they'd like to contact and write maybe a little bit about their situation to you?
Well, always the best way is to just talk on the phone, Ralph. We're happy for them to send us an email if they want to, but we also love a telephone conversation. And a lot of times that's the first conversation that we really have. And so you can call that number 417-200-3500. If you call it this morning, you'll get a recording. You have a chance to leave a message because it's Sunday morning and our staff are all with their families. And somebody will call you back first thing on Monday morning, and they'll then schedule an appointment time when you and I get to talk together on the phone. So that's one way to make that happen if you want to communicate. You can send an email. If you chose to send an email, the way to send that, now you got to write this down. It gets a little more complicated. The email address where we communicate with people is called Priority Care. Priority Care at wealthcarecorp.com. Priority Care at wealthcarecorp.com. But my suggestion is just send us a text or call us on the phone.
And always say, hey, I heard you on the radio. I would love to talk to Barry, and that is free, and so is his book. We'll talk about the book in just a moment here. But on Social Security, what we're talking about right now, really, as you're new to this, if you're just getting into your late 50s, early 60s, you just don't know what you don't know. And many of you might be mismanaging this critical benefit. For some of you, when to start taking that benefit could be, I can't believe this, Barry. This could be $1 million decision.
It is $1 million decision, Ralph. And people don't know that. They think, well, no, my Social Security is only $2,000 a month. Let me give you a little Social Security math. The average monthly Social Security benefit for a retired worker this year is $1,907 per month. That's $1,907 per month. So if you do the math and you're retired for 30 years, that's $680,000 that you're going to receive from Social Security. If you're married, you can double that figure. It's more than $1.3 million in Social Security benefits for over a 30-year period of retirement for a married couple. And so let me just ask this. Do you have a $1.3 million investment account? Some people do. Some people don't. If you don't have a $1.3 million investment account, you total it all up, it's not $1.3 million. That means that Social Security is probably your biggest investment. And how you manage it, that is the decisions you make about it, are very important because that is your biggest retirement asset. Now, there are a lot of variables to consider before you start taking Social Security, so we offer a free Social Security analysis. It's one of the things that we do to help people sort through all the different options for the ways that they can claim which one's going to pay them the best over time. Can we get their Social Security income tax-free? And the answer is yes, we can if we plan strategically and carefully. One of the things you have to be aware of is the cost of Medicare. And sometimes you wind up paying more for your Medicare because you didn't have your income properly structured. So what we want to help you do is pinpoint the most appropriate decisions to make so that you minimize what you pay in taxes and you maximize the benefits that you get from Social Security, Medicare, and other things. It can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars if you do it correctly. Now, here's the deal, Ralph. You can't call the Social Security Administration to ask about this because the people who work there have been told that they cannot give out answers. Now, sometimes they do give answers, and in my opinion, they give the wrong answers. Good people, just a little bit out of their depth. And there's a reason that technically they're not allowed to give answers, and it's because they're not qualified to deal with all the things related to your retirement income decisions. So all they're technically allowed to do is give you facts about Social Security. Here's how much your payment will be. What we do is we analyze the payment at the different ages and then look at your other income streams and when you're going to retire, and we'll tell you with more accuracy when it is that you ought to take Social Security because it's one of the most important decisions that you will ever make. So here's the deal, Ralph. If you've saved $250,000 in retirement savings, and you haven't started taking Social Security benefits yet, call me now. Or you can text to the same number either way, and we'll do a free Social Security analysis for you. Just call or text 417-200-3500, 417-200-3500, and that'll connect you with the WealthCare Corporation.
Yeah, a lot of you may have thought, well, let me call the Social Security office there in Springfield, and they're going to tell me all about what I can get. No. They can only give you so much information, and Barry can do the rest of it for you. So remember what he said.
You know what else you can do, Ralph?
What else you can do?
You could actually read Chapter 5 of my book, What's on Wealth.
Tell us about
just released this week, because Chapter 5 talks about Social Security. The book's available on Amazon if you want to go order it. It's What's on Wealth. but you can obtain a free copy, no charge. We'll mail it to you just by texting the word book, BOOK, to 417-200-3500.
Hey, are you a big country music fan, Barry?
I am. I grew up milking cows, and the radio was on in the barn 24/7.
Oh, there you go.
To in those days, it was tuned to KTTS. In fact,
Yes.
I jokingly sing. Some of the old folks around will remember this. At the top of every hour, they said, KTTS, Song of Inspiration. The Song of Inspiration is brought to you by the Klinger Funeral Home. Here's the Oak Ridge Boys singing I'll Fly Away. And so I grew up milking cows and listening to that at the top of every hour. So, yeah, I get radio. What do you got for us, Ralph?
Well, I want to direct your attention to country music legend George Jones, and he gave us some great advice, too. Gave us what turned out to be a pretty accurate description of how many of us look at retirement today. That's our next thing we're going to talk about. What does retirement look like today? And he did a song, I Don't Need Your Rocking Chair, and he recorded that and released it in 1992. Now, good old George died in 2013. He was 81. George Jones and Tammy Wynette, right? George Jones has been gone since 2013. George is helping us get into retirement today. And Barry, you'd agree, or if George or Conway were still with us today, retirement today, boy, it's a whole lot different than in their age and for our mom and dad and our grandparents, isn't it?
Well, it really is a lot different. You know, when I think of that song, I don't need your rocking chair. Well, Ralph, wouldn't you love to have a little rocking chair time? I mean, because you've retired, but now you're back working in radio, obviously. Do you get any rocking chair time, Ralph?
I do. When I left the TV station, I'd been working in Kansas, and I did a talk show, and I also did the news. So they interviewed me on the talk show on my final day, and they gave me a rocking chair.
Oh,
So
well, cool.
They gave me a rocking. They brought it
But
right
do you
out,
get to
and I
rock
love
in it?
I was rocking in it yesterday because it wasn't 100 degrees. I was out there, so I do need that rocking chair.
Well, and I need more and more of the rocking chair. You know, we talk about what your money needs to be, your income, and we call it your sitting on the porch money each month. And I envision that
we call it the sitting on the porch in your rocking chair money.
Yeah, I envision people sitting in their rocking chair while they're sitting on the porch.
Yeah. But how much of it is to make work optional? Like we can choose to work or choose not to work if we want to.
Well, that's the whole point. You don't have to sit in a rocking chair. Some people don't want to. I'm guessing a day is going to come when you do want to sit in a rocking chair because, you know, we talk about the go-go years and the slow-go years and the no-go years. Well, at some point you're going to want to sit in the chair more. But that's what retirement planning is all about, is really to give people a good concept of whether they can sit in the rocking chair, how long they're going to be able to sit in the rocking chair, and what their income is going to look like while they're in the rocking chair.
Barry, you've been at this, you said nearly 32 years now, and that's almost the lifespan of this modern concept of retirement planning. 30 or 40 years ago, people had pensions and they had Social Security. Social Security is about 90 years old now as a concept. Roth IRAs are only about 25 or 26, 27 years old now for Roth accounts. And back then, you know, when retirement planning was becoming a very solid concept, we didn't live as long as we live now. How have these factors changed over the years for us?
Well, obviously longevity has become a big issue. 31 years ago, when I started in the retirement planning business, we would plan you out till your early 70s. My goodness, some people aren't even retired now until their early 70s.
Yeah, we don't even start till 70.
Yeah. Today we plan you to age 100. So that's the way life expectancy has impacted this. And then, you know, it used to be people had pensions. Today, most people don't have pensions. And we see people come in who haven't bothered saving a dime sometimes. And boy, it's really hard to help them make much retirement out of that. I told you, I think last week, about a physician I was talking to down in South Florida who was 67 years old. He makes $1.2 million a year, and he literally did not have a dime saved for retirement. So you have to think about all these kind of things. How much are you saving? Are you saving enough? We can help you figure that out. What are your income streams going to be? Social Security, pension, income from your retirement assets that you have saved. How long are you going to live? How long is your spouse going to live? Are you both going to have enough money to get you to age 100? We can help you with things like that. It's what we do several times a week for our clients at the Wealth Care Corporation. So call us and we'll be glad to help. You can call and leave a message this morning. It's Sunday, and just say, I want to talk with Barry. or you can just text the word visit, either one, to the number 417-200-3500. And when you text 417-200-3500 or you call and just leave a voicemail, someone will be back in touch with you first thing Monday morning and get you and I connected on the phone for a conversation that we need to have.
Barry, when you started about 31 or 32 years ago, something that nobody ever said when you started was, can you imagine what it was? They never said this.
Text me. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was no text
my phone. I lost
There was
my
no
phone.
cell phone.
Nobody ever said that.
Some people had cell phones, but I didn't have a cell phone when I first started.
You know, those big old clunker mobile phones they had in their cars and stuff like that?
We had a bag phone, and we bought it because Kelly was driving back and forth. I was living in Benton, Arkansas, which is really, it's all part of the Little Rock Metroplex now, but it was about 30 miles outside Little Rock at that time. Mm-hmm. And she was driving back and forth on I-30 to the VA, the Veterans Hospital there in Little Rock, where she was a nurse. And so because she was on the road for safety purposes, we wanted her to have a phone. So we bought a bag phone and Kel drove back and forth with it. That was 31 years ago.
She's going to love you telling that story, laugh, and, oh, you remember that bag phone we had in the front seat of the car? Now it's just so simple. And it is so simple. And amazingly, just by the letters you type on that little keyboard, you can text the word visit to Barry, 417-200-3500. And then once you've texted visit and planned that, text book, and get Barry's book, Watts on Wealth. The book is out, hardback or paperback, or it's hardcover or paperback, I guess is the correct way to say it. And same number, 417-200-3500. Barry, time for another break here. We'll get to the final segment of our show. Always love talking with J. Barry Watts. Hope you love listening. Watts on Wealth, the radio show, is back right after this.
Having trouble planning your retirement? Planning doesn't have to be complicated. Barry Watts can help you simplify it with his Retirement Toolkit. In it, you'll find a copy of his Retirement Income Planning Booklet, plus information on taxes, Social Security, income, and more. To get your toolkit, text KIT, that's K-I-T, to 417-200-3500. That's KIT, K-I-T, to 417-200-3500.
According to the U.S. debt clock, in the time you hear this commercial, our nation's debt will go up by $1.5 million. That's more than $2 billion a day. Right now, our debt is over $31 trillion and climbing fast. The question is, how do we pay it off? One of the most likely answers is increasing taxes. Now think about your retirement accounts. Do you want to pay taxes on some of that money now when rates are historically low, or later when rates are potentially higher? Whether you should pay taxes now or in retirement depends on a lot of things. Barry Watts and the team at WealthCare know what to look for. Barry can help you create a plan so your retirement is as tax efficient as possible. Call 417-200-3500 to set up a tax strategy session with Barry Watts and the WealthCare team. That's 417-200-3500. When taxes go up, will you be ready? Call now, 417-200-3500.
Investment advisory services are provided by WealthCare Asset Management, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Are you worried about where your money will go in retirement? No need to worry. Barry Watts is here to help you plan for your retirement future. Just text VISIT to 417-200-3500 to set up a meeting with Barry Watts to see what he can do for you. Again, that's text VISIT to 417-200-3500 today.
All righty, Barry Watts and I are talking about the way retirement looks today. This is your host, Ralph Hipp. I've been retired 2 years this September. Really enjoying my time working on the radio with a guy like Barry Watts. And you'll love meeting with him in person and talking with him face-to-face. 417-200-3500 right there at Battlefield Road and Highway 65 at the WealthCare Corporation. What do we need to know about our options in saving for retirement, especially right now?
Well, I think the big issue, Ralph, is that there are so many options that you can get tripped up. This isn't a simple process. People think it should just be automatic. It's not automatic. And don't feel badly about the fact that it doesn't feel automatic for you, because it's kind of complicated. I like to think about it this way. How often when you do something for the first time do you do it well? Well, generally, we don't do something well the first time. And then I follow up with this question: how many times have you retired before? Well, I've never retired before. And if you've never retired before, there's a pretty good chance you'll make mistakes. And we know how to work that out. I mean, that's what we do. I just talked to a lady last week who said, I moved here from New Mexico. I'm 67 years old. My husband has Alzheimer's. And she said, I made a lot of decisions and some of them weren't the right ones. And I need somebody to help me untangle those decisions. Well, she's a smart woman. The reason she didn't make the right decisions, it's complicated. And we can help you figure out how to streamline it and navigate your way through those complications to make it easy. But you have to call us at the Wealth Care Corporation for that to happen.
And Barry can hopefully not put too many marks on the tree when you're planning your retirement, not too many financial collisions there. Barry's number, 417-200-3500 for the Wealth Care Corporation. Barry, one of our basic questions as we talk about the way retirement looks today, what are some of the biggest risks out there to our money in retirement?
Well, what people are afraid of, first of all, is running out of money. That's a very real fear. It's why people don't go ahead and retire. I don't know if I have enough. Second issue that comes up is taxes and what taxes are going to look like. Now, some people don't know to be scared of that, but you ought to be scared of it because taxes are going higher. There is no other choice for the government to pay its obligations other than tax you more. Third issue is healthcare costs. What are those going to look like and how are we going to pay for them? I just had a conversation this morning with a guy who we were talking about solutions for healthcare. And one of the questions I asked him was, are you just going to let your farm go to the nursing home? Because he's a farmer, he loves his farm, he wants to give it to the kids. Well, if he doesn't make some strategic planning decisions, the farm is going to wind up going to the nursing home to pay for his health care. And then there are poor investment decisions I see people make all the time. And they come in trying to explain to me how genius it is. And it's like, dude, you just have backed yourself in a corner and you don't even know it yet. And one of the reasons is we see a teaser rate on a CD at the bank. My goodness, they're paying 6%. That's outstanding. Well, look at it. It's for 7 months. Where do you think interest rates will be in 7 months? When you get ready to renew that thing, you may be renewing it at 2%. So those are just some of the kinds of problems that you get into. And we try to navigate through that so that we don't get beaten up by those risks, but instead we're strategic in how we avoid them.
Of course, we've got longer lives. Healthcare costs when we're living longer have skyrocketed, and the taxes are skyrocketing until Washington can get more tax money to fill in that big hole they've dug. So longevity, healthcare, and taxes. And I imagine you're going to get some help in the book.
Well, I do have a chapter in the book about this. It's chapter number 4. And so if you'd like a copy of my new book, just released this week, What's on Wealth, go to chapter 4 and you can read about those risks. We'll send you a free copy today. All you have to do is text to the word book, B-O-O-K, to 417-200-3500. Or you can call us at the same number, 417-200-3500, and say, can I please have a copy of Barry's book? And we'll send it to you this week. No charge. It's our gift to you. Ralph, there are some strategic things that we can do to handle our retirement income, and it's important that we think about those things and do it well. Just had a client confess to me this week that when he had set up and become our client, he'd moved a couple of $1 million to us, but he had held back $700,000 that he kept in the bank, and he said, because I was scared. I get that. I totally understand. I don't blame him for that. But now 6 months later, he's seen how we do business. He gets it. He likes it. He understands it all. And now he's saying, hey, maybe I could put that $700,000 to work. And he can. We'll help him with that. But interest rates have gone down about 2% since he held that money back. So he's cost himself $14,000 per year in income. Now, I don't know if $14,000 is a big deal to you, but I'll tell you, it's a big deal to me, and I suspect it's a big deal to him. And so what I want you to understand is we know how to get this year's income without causing next year's money to suffer. And we know how to get next year's income and 2026 income and 2027 income without allowing those monies to be lost in bad market conditions. We use an income planning strategy that consists of 3 buckets. You're going to have a now bucket for this year, a soon bucket for the 4 years after this year, and a later bucket for year 5 and beyond. And so if you don't have those 3 buckets working for you in that order, and then we have to think about how do we invest each of those 3 buckets, well, that's what we do in helping people plan at the Wealth Care Corporation. And we'd love to help you plan your retirement income.
Absolutely. And Barry, I was just thinking about a news article I read about people in the Great Depression era. They were stashing money, wrapping money in foil, putting it in the freezer. They were stashing $20 bills in the pages of books. They're hiding it under mattresses. They only felt that their money was safe if it was locked in the house somewhere. So we've got to get away from that mentality. That's the Great Depression, when you couldn't trust the banks at all. The grandchildren are shaking books out. The money's coming out like leaves off a tree. And is this a stake or something? No, it's like $700. So when people don't have a financial plan, they hide the money, have that bunker mentality. How do we feel more confident about our plan, get the money out of the house and into some kind of a solid retirement income strategy plan?
Well, first I'd say you're going to have to trust somebody to help you with this, because if this isn't your expertise, then somebody's got to be the expert, has to be the person who knows what to do next. And if it's not me, that's fine, but find somebody that you trust and have confidence in, and then you're going to have to trust and follow what they say. And Ralph, we are committed at the Wealth Care Corporation to taking care of our clients. Core value number one in our company is it's about the people who are depending on us. And I've got 15 staff members sitting here in my office every day who live by that mantra and who know that mantra, and who sometimes I point at them and require them to repeat that mantra to me. It's about the people who are depending on us. And one of the things they're depending on us to do is to help them develop a written financial plan, including a retirement income plan, so they know what their income is going to look like in retirement. They know how many years their money is going to last. They know whether they can afford to retire. And so that whole process is designed to help people have more confidence. So if you're one of the folks listening who doesn't have a retirement plan that includes an income plan, and 70% of our listeners don't, then I invite you to call us and let us talk with you about how we might help you to figure out how much more income you're going to need in retirement, where that income is going to come from. We'll help you learn about what some options are for generating income in retirement, and how to preserve your current standard of living so as costs keep rising with inflation, you have got the income that you need to keep living the lifestyle that you want to. All the analysis around that is complimentary. We don't charge for that. There's no obligation for it. The only thing we ask, Ralph, is that you need to have saved at least $250,000 for retirement in order to take advantage of that, because we've got to have about that much money to make the tools we use begin to work. So if you'd like a complimentary retirement income analysis, just pick up the phone right now at this moment and call 417-200-3500 and say, I want to talk with Barry. Or you can text the word VISIT, VISIT, to 417-200-3500. What we'll do is analyze where you are right now. We'll begin mapping out a strategy about how we can get you where you want to go. We'll talk about how we can help you and how we can't help you. We just want to be sure you don't outlive your money and that you've got the resources that you need. So dial 417-200-3500. Talk sweet when you do, and we'll mail you a copy of my new book, What's on Wealth, where in Chapter 4 on page 41, I talk about retirement income.
Barry, we only have about a minute to go. I just had a very quick question. We haven't even mentioned your famous 6 steps to retirement confidence. Are the steps outlined in your book, which they can get for free?
Well, the steps are mentioned in the book. The next book is actually going to be titled 6 Steps to Retirement Confidence.
Very good. Okay.
So we didn't give away all of that story. But yes, we've been talking about them. The first step to retirement confidence is income to age 100. The second step is tax-free or tax minimized. The third step is protected principal. The fourth step is long-term care. The fifth step is estate planning. And the sixth step is looking back at the 5 steps and being sure on an annual basis that we've got the 5 steps all taken care of and none of them have gotten out of whack. So those are the 6 steps. Yeah. And when you meet with us, we take you through those 6 steps over and over and over again.
Friends, we hope you've learned a lot from Barry, and you will take that first step in calling him, 417-200-3500. Barry, boy, what a joy and a delight to get with you every Sunday morning. I hope you enjoy being with our radio friends as much as I enjoy being with you, bud.
It's been a great time to be with you today. It's been a great week, the holiday week that we just experienced.
Yeah.
And, I'm excited because I'm going to be back with you on TV next Sunday morning and right here on the radio shortly after the TV show's over.
Yeah, we will do that. Thanks, friends, for joining us. Hope it's TV and radio. And this is Ralph Hipp for Barry Watts and the whole team at the Wealth Care Corporation. Thank you so much for joining us on the radio side, and hope you'll hear us again next weekend.
Thank you for stopping by What's on Wealth. If you would like Barry and his team to help you make a plan to get to and through retirement, or would simply like a second opinion on your current plan, give us a call today at 417-200-3500. That's 417-200-3500. And join us again next week for What's on Wealth.
WealthCare Corporation provides tax strategy, tax compliance, accounting, and insurance services through its affiliate American Tax Strategies, LLC. Investment advisory services are provided by WealthCare Asset Management, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Past performance never guarantees future results. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for information and entertainment purposes only and should not be used as the basis for personal financial decisions without first consulting a qualified advisor. The information and opinions you've heard are believed reliable but cannot be guaranteed as to accuracy and completeness.